Mr. Rubinstein, your job at the State Department, as I understand, is not to form policy, but to provide legal advice to Secretary Rubio and President Trump on their proposed policies. In your opening statement, you talked about working in a way that was lawful, about your faithful commitment to the Constitution. So can I just ask, do you commit to following the law, to advising against any policy or action that would violate federal law, if confirmed?
I'm sorry, any action that would violate federal law?
Any policy or action that would violate federal law? Doesn't seem like a difficult question.
Thank you for that question, Ranking Member Shaheen. I commit to applying the law, working with my colleagues internally at the Department of State on more complex issues. The way that we did it before was to reach outside and consult with the Department of Justice and the Office of Legal Counsel, and providing our client with the best possible legal advice outlining various options and potential consequences of different courses of action.
Well, again, let me ask if you can give me a yes or no question. Do you commit to following the law and to advising against policies or actions that would violate current federal law?
Well, so I'm not sure it lends necessarily a yes or no answer, Senator. The law is a conversation. It's one of the great things about it. It's why it's been so interesting to me these 40 years.
I'm married to an attorney for 56 years. I understand what you're saying, but that's...
So when you say...
But what I'm asking you is
there
a yes or no question to this.
But it, again, I mean, yes, the job of the federal government writ broadly is to follow the law. That is not a controversial proposition at all. The kind of where the rubber hits the road, though, is when you're looking at the margins. And particularly, I know this is of interest in talking with staff, and talking with your staff, there are questions about the relative legalities, for example, of certain separation of powers issues on matters that are likely to come up before the department. And there it gets into a gray area. You end up into discussions about what the relative balance is between Congress, say, and the executive with respect to various powers. And often there isn't an absolutely clear answer. So I'm not trying, yes,
well, I will take that
government,
as a no, actually, based on what you just said. And I have to say that makes me concerned, and given some of your past online postings. For example, last year you posted alleging that the Biden administration was engaged in a massive program to overthrow the Israeli government in the middle of a multi-front war. Do you really believe that?
Well, I don't have the checks that were written. I do believe that there are sufficient facts to support that statement. We know that in 2015, actually a committee of this Senate did a report on an outfit called One Voice. During the Obama administration, the State Department was running money to fund an anti-government operation inside of Israel. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations did this work. The report was not acknowledged much in the United States, but it sure made an impact in Israel when it was issued. Many of the same people who were involved in the Obama administration State Department came back under President Biden. And it appears to us, appears to me, based on emails that I obtained through the Freedom of Information Act and that we read, that the same playbook was being run. We have emails, for example, from an American NGO, and all of this is public record, Senator. I invite you to read it. I can provide it. But we have emails from an American NGO.
I have heard these conspiracy theories before, but I've been here through the Obama administration, through the first Trump administration, through the Biden administration, and I can tell you that I never heard anybody in any of those administrations talking about a multi-front war trying to overthrow the Israeli government. Well, I don't believe it, and I hear you're saying that and trying to justify that as a conspiracy theory. And so I guess what confidence can you give me, can you give this committee, that you can provide impartial, unbiased legal advice that's grounded in facts and the law? And so far, you're not convincing me.
Well, Senator, with respect to the Senate report from the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, I didn't write that. That came out of this body. With respect to the emails that I read between these NGOs and Barbara Leaf, I didn't write those either, just read them. And they say what they say. And perhaps they lend themselves to different interpretations. I'm willing to concede that. But I believe there was a good faith basis for what I said. Now, with respect to my legal advice, there's a difference between advocacy and providing careful. You said you're married to a lawyer for 56 years. There's a difference between advocacy and providing a client with careful, proper legal advice. The way that I have worked in private practice, the way that I worked in my last stint in government, the way that I would work here is to, as I said, rigorously review the facts, learn as much as you can about the situation, apply the relevant authorities, consult with your colleagues, look for the subject matter experts at the Department of State. We are blessed, as I said, with some of the best international law experts in the world to be able to draw on that knowledge, to consult with my colleagues at the Office of the Legal Counsel and the Department of Justice, and then provide the decision makers with the best possible legal advice. And that is what I will do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.